It was a warm, sunny afternoon in a quiet village surrounded by endless fields of mustard and wheat. Birds chirped in the distance, and the wind carried the scent of blooming flowers. Children played freely, laughter echoing through the air. Life was peaceful. On the edge of the village stood an old, crumbling well. Covered in moss and partially hidden by tall grass, it had long been abandoned. Elders warned children to stay away from it, calling it the Bottomless Pit. But children often ignore warnings, especially the curious ones. Eliza, the youngest daughter of a cheerful family, was just 9 years old. Her laughter could light up an entire room. That day, she was playing with her brothers near the fields. A rubber ball bounced out of bounds and rolled dangerously close to the old well. "Eliza, don't go there," her mother shouted from a distance. But it was too late. Chasing the ball with childlike excitement, Eliza stepped too close to the edge. The ground beneath her gave way, and with a scream that pierced the sky, she plummeted into the darkness. Panic spread like wildfire. Villagers rushed to the scene, shouting, running, praying. The well hadn't been used in decades. Was it even possible to get her out? Ropes were tied. Lanterns were lit. Men lowered themselves carefully into the narrow, damp tunnel. Every second felt like an eternity. After nearly an hour, they pulled her out. Eliza was alive, but something was off. She wasn't crying. She wasn't screaming. Her small body was cold, her clothes soaked. Her eyes were open, but they stared blankly, as if she were looking at something far away, something no one else could see. Her mother hugged her tightly. "Thank God. Thank you, God," she whispered, tears pouring down her face. But Eliza didn't react. She didn't even blink. "Maybe it's shock," said a neighbor. "She'll be fine after some rest." But days passed, and Eliza didn't get better. She barely spoke. She refused to eat. At night, her eyes remained open in the dark. Her once playful nature had vanished. Instead of toys, she now sat for hours, drawing strange symbols in the dirt. Circles, twisted figures, and hollow eyes. One night, her mother found her sitting on the floor, quietly tracing something with her finger. "What are you doing, Eliza?" she asked gently. Eliza looked up slowly. Her voice was hoarse and flat. "They're calling me," from below. Chills ran down her mother's spine. A local priest was called. He recited prayers and sprinkled holy water. Eliza didn't flinch. Her eyes just followed the priest's every move, unblinking, calculating. At night, she would walk through the house barefoot, whispering to herself. Once, her father found her standing outside the front door, staring at the forest with a smile on her lips. When he called her name, she didn't respond. Then came the first death. The village shepherd was found dead in his hut, lying face up, eyes wide open in terror. His body was pale, his veins dry. It looked like every drop of blood had been sucked out. The village was stunned. Fear crept in like a shadow at dusk. Whispers began. This started after the girl fell into the well, someone said. She brought something back with her. Eliza's father tried to deny it. "She's just a child. She's been through a lot." But deep down he knew. This wasn't just trauma. Something had changed, and it was only the beginning. The change. The sun still rose each morning over the quiet village, but something felt different, heavier. People moved with caution. Doors were locked earlier. Children were kept inside. And at the heart of it all was Eliza. Her silence deepened. She no longer responded to her name. Her once bright eyes now looked like deep, black mirrors, empty and bottomless. Her presence made people uneasy, even her own parents. At night, strange things began happening. The family's dog, Rex, was found dead behind the house, its neck twisted at an unnatural angle. No signs of struggle, no blood, just death. Cold, sudden death. Eliza didn't react when told. In fact, that night, her mother found her sitting beside the fireplace, humming an eerie tune no one had ever heard before. When asked where she learned it, Eliza simply said, "He sang it to me, the man below the well." That was when her father started to believe something darker was at play. The villagers, already on edge, began connecting dots. They remembered the old stories, the ones dismissed as folklore. Tales of a spirit trapped inside the well, a a shadow that devoured light. Long ago, it was said that a young girl was sacrificed to seal it. The elders buried the truth to protect the village. But now, the past was resurfacing. One night, the village healer, a kind, elderly woman, was found dead on her porch. Her hands were burned black, clutching a wooden charm, her face frozen in horror. The strange part? Her front door had been bolted from the inside, and Eliza's hands smelled of smoke. Her parents were torn between love and fear. Her mother still clung to hope. "She's our daughter. Maybe it's just an illness of the mind," she pleaded. But her father had started sleeping with a knife under his pillow. Eliza's behavior became more unpredictable. Sometimes she would crawl around the house on all fours, growling like an animal. Other times she would sit perfectly still, staring at nothing for hours. One night, she disappeared from her room. Panic gripped the house. They searched the entire property, yelling her name. Her mother collapsed in tears. They found Eliza just before dawn, standing barefoot in the middle of the road, covered in mud and blood. Not her blood. There had been another death. A local farmer, found hanging from a tree, his eyes gouged out. Now, the villagers were certain. "Eliza is cursed," one man said. "She's possessed." Others called for action, banishment, or worse. Her family refused to let her go, but fear had planted its roots deep within their hearts. Then came the drawings. Eliza began scrawling symbols on the walls of their home, with charcoal, sometimes with her own blood. The same repeating patterns: an open well, a dark figure with no face, and a pair of glowing red eyes. The drawings appeared overnight, no matter how many times her father scrubbed them clean. The family reached its breaking point when Eliza tried to attack her cousin with a pair of kitchen scissors. Luckily, the boy ran fast and escaped with only a scratch. That night, her father locked her in her room and nailed the door shut. Still, in the middle of the night, Eliza vanished again. The nails were untouched, the windows unbroken, and all that remained was a trail of bloody footprints leading back toward the well. The next morning, a desperate decision was made. The family sent word to their eldest son, Daniel, who had moved away to the city years ago. He hadn't been home in a long time, but he was their last hope. They needed someone strong, someone who still believed in reason, someone who might survive what was coming. Daniel's return. The letter reached Daniel on a rainy afternoon. He stared at the trembling handwriting of his mother, words filled with desperation and fear. It had been nearly 5 years since he left the village. City life had changed him. He believed in logic, not ghosts. But something in his mother's words chilled him. "Eliza is not the same. She's killing Daniel. We need you. Please, before it's too late." He took the next bus home. The village hadn't changed much. The air still smelled of earth and smoke, but a strange silence hung heavy over the streets. People looked at him through half-open windows, whispering. He felt like an outsider. When he reached his childhood home, his mother hugged him tightly, too tightly. "She's not my daughter anymore," she whispered. Daniel walked through the house. It felt colder, darker. The walls were covered with half-erased symbols. The mirrors were all broken. And Eliza sat quietly in the corner of the living room, knees to her chest, her face hidden behind long black hair. "Hi, Eliza," he said gently. She didn't respond. He stepped closer. "Eliza, it's me, Daniel." She slowly looked up and smiled. Not a sweet, childlike smile, a twisted, knowing grin. "You came back," she said in a voice not her own. "He told me you would." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. That night, he stayed awake, watching her from the hallway through a cracked door. She sat on her bed, rocking back and forth, whispering to the walls. "She hears the well. She hears the well." Suddenly, she stopped, turned her head sharply toward the door, and whispered, "You're next." Daniel closed the door. The next morning, he visited the old village priest, Father Marcus. The man was in his 70s, nearly blind, and lived in a small chapel on the hill. She fell into the well. Marcus asked after hearing the story. "Then it's true. The evil has returned." Daniel frowned. "You actually believe that?" Marcus opened an old book and flipped to a yellow page. A hand-drawn well, symbols identical to the ones Eliza drew. Beneath it, a passage. The well was a prison, not for water, but for a spirit born of blood. Once awakened, it feeds. Through the innocent, it hunts. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. It must be sealed again, Marcus said. But this time, properly. The girl is the key. She must be returned to the well. That's where it entered her. Daniel was torn. She's just a child, she's my sister. She's no longer just that, the priest warned. The longer the spirit lives inside her, the stronger it becomes. Soon, even the well won't be able to hold it. That night, Daniel made a plan. He watched Eliza closely. She rarely slept. She barely ate. And yet, her strength was unnatural. She once lifted a heavy table with one hand during a rage, something no child her size could do. He waited until she dozed off just before dawn. With ropes and a vial of holy water given by Father Marcus, Daniel crept into her room. As he moved closer, she opened her eyes. "I knew you'd try this," she whispered, "but you're too late." She lunged at him with shocking speed, biting and clawing like an animal. They struggled. Her eyes glowed faint red in the darkness. Daniel shouted, splashing her with the holy water. She screamed, a sound that was not human, and collapsed, twitching. He tied her hands and feet with trembling hands. As he dragged her out of the house toward the old well, the village was silent, yet every window watched. He was doing what no one else dared, returning the darkness to where it came from, the descent. The sun had not yet risen when Daniel reached the old well. Morning mist blanketed the village like a funeral shroud. Crows circled above, cawing as if they sensed what was about to happen. Eliza lay bound on the ground beside the well, motionless but awake. Her eyes were wide open, locked on Daniel with an unblinking stare. There was no pleading in them, only hate. Father Marcus stood nearby, clutching a wooden crucifix in one hand and a small leather-bound book in the other. He had insisted on joining Daniel. "The spirit is ancient," he said. "It will resist, but this must be done before the sun rises. Once daylight touches her skin, the spirit will be harder to contain." Daniel looked down at his sister. No, at the thing wearing his sister's face. "I'm sorry, Eliza," he whispered. She smiled again, her voice guttural. "You think you can bury me again? I've tasted freedom. I've tasted blood. I will not go back." Father Marcus began chanting in Latin. The words rang through the air like fire. The well seemed to react, its walls groaning faintly, as if waking from a long slumber. Suddenly, Eliza began to scream. The ropes burned against her skin, smoke rising from where the holy water had soaked them. Her body twisted unnaturally. Her voice layered, Eliza's high-pitched tone mixing with something far deeper, inhuman. "You will all burn," the spirit howled. Daniel hesitated, fear gripping his hands. But Father Marcus pressed the crucifix to her forehead. She let out a blood-curdling shriek and convulsed violently. "Now, Daniel!" Marcus shouted. Daniel took a deep breath and grabbed her legs. Together, they lowered her toward the well. But before she went over the edge, Eliza looked straight into Daniel's eyes and spoke, not in the demon's voice, but in her own. "Daniel, please, it's me. Don't let them do this." Daniel froze. His heart twisted. Was she still in there? Could she be saved? "She's lying," Marcus warned. "That's not her." Tears welled in Daniel's eyes. "Eliza," she smiled, and the demon returned. "Weak little brother." Without another word, Daniel released his grip. Eliza fell into the darkness. There was no sound, no splash, just silence. Then the well shuddered. A strong gust of wind blew out the priest's candle. The ground trembled, and a low roar echoed from below. Father Marcus knelt and began chanting again, louder, faster. Daniel helped him unroll a large scroll marked with sacred symbols. They placed it over the mouth of the well and began nailing down the seal. The wind howled. Shadows swirled inside the well like smoke trying to escape. Faint voices whispered, hundreds of them, crying, screaming, laughing. One final nail, a final prayer. The moment the last word was spoken, the well went still. The wind stopped. The voices vanished. It was over. Father Marcus fell to his knees, exhausted. Daniel sat beside him, shaking, soaked in sweat and tears. The sky began to lighten. Morning had come. They walked home in silence. But deep inside, Daniel knew this was not the end. Not yet the echoes. A week had passed since the night at the well. The village slowly returned to normal, at least on the surface. People opened their shops again. Children laughed in the streets. But fear still lingered in the shadows, like smoke after a fire. Daniel stayed a few more days to make sure everything remained quiet. Eliza was gone, and the well had been sealed with holy markings and blessed chains. Father Marcus checked it daily, just in case. No sounds, no signs, nothing. Still, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching. On the seventh day, Daniel sat on the porch of his family's home, staring at the hills, remembering how peaceful it used to be. His mother sat beside him, holding a photo of Eliza as a baby, laughing, innocent, alive. She wasn't just a vessel, his mother whispered. She was still in there. I saw it in her eyes. Daniel said nothing. That night, he packed his things. It was time to go back to the city. But before leaving, he visited the well one last time. The forest path was quiet, too quiet. No birds chirped, no insects buzzed, just silence. He stood beside the sealed well, staring down at the carved symbols and iron chains. Is it really over? He asked the empty air. Suddenly, he heard it. Tap, tap, tap. 3 knocks from inside the well. He stepped back, heart pounding. Then a voice. Daniel. It was Eliza's voice. Faint, distant, but clear. Help me. Please, it's dark. I'm scared. Daniel's blood ran cold. No, he whispered, shaking his head. You're not her. You're the thing that wore her skin. The voice changed, distorted, deeper, crueler. You'll never know, Daniel. Maybe she was still alive when you threw her in. Maybe she's still down here, waiting, dying, screaming. Daniel turned and ran, not stopping until the trees were behind him. That night, he left the village. Years passed. He never spoke of Eliza again, never visited the well, never returned to that place. But sometimes, on quiet nights in the city, he dreams. Dreams of a girl with black eyes and blood on her hands. Dreams of a whisper from a dark hole in the ground. You came back once, brother, and you will again. And deep in the forest, in that forgotten village, the well still stands, silent and still by day, but whispering by night.